You are watching Xirtus.
Venezuela is one of the richest like areas on the planet. Like as a
So there's,
country,
yeah,
it's
there's a
hard to get in
thing.
and out of, but they
Dave
have like what you would need to make chips locally.
Dave
And
brought this up, which is kind of interesting. The Technate of America. So this was a thing during the Delano Roosevelt period. Was the kind of goal of American corporatists to create a centrally planned, perfect society. And so the Technate was designed from this group called the Technocracy Incorporated, which was, I think, like a Howard Scott project. And he brings up that Elon Musk's father, I think, was involved, or grandfather. A lot of people were. It's not like a lot of people, but it was a popular plan, right? I mean, you had the Nazis in Germany, you had FDR in America, you had Russia, Central. Everyone was looking at how technology could make a more efficient system, and they created this idea of the Technate, which would have included Greenland, Alaska,
that's
basically
all.
all of North America, but also Colombia and Venezuela and
Well,
Guyana,
think Trump always talks about making Canada the
Venezuela.
51st state. That would also apply. Like if
Absolutely.
you would
It makes
need
a lot of
Canada,
sense when you look at like the connection with Elon Musk and just generally that this is a resource bound location where there's
that's
a
amazing.
natural trade that could all occur. And this has always existed because you have the banana republics and the Bolivarians, right?
There's a major bartering system that's
That's
been in
right.
place between Iran and Venezuela in exchange with gasoline. And so, like this, what has just happened has totally isolated Iran even more than it was before, which is totally connected to what's going down in Iran at this moment, which is kind of hard to like really see it firsthand because they basically have a total internet blackout for the most part. So there was an attempt.
Without
I don't know all the
Iran,
specifics with Starlink to be able to have.
Israel's got like the most dominance in the area. Like without Iran, it's Israel has free
In terms
reign.
of military strength, is what you're saying?
I don't think anybody could stop them as far as like what
There's
they're capable of. They would be the major force within that whole
Well, the
area.
Islamic regime extends well
Turkey's got a.
beyond Iran and is controlling the larger area. So
It's just
it's not.
nobody would even care to stop them if it wasn't for Iran. And I don't. I mean, I'm just blurting out
Right,
loud. I'm not saying
right.
without bias, but I mean, I think about this stuff all the time because I think that there's a lot more going on than what we get on social media as far as like the understanding of it all. Most of what we see like shared on social media is basically stuff that like the things that they want you to pay attention to.
I was told by like I went to this is so silly because it's just anecdotal, but I went to like a barbecue with a bunch of friends of a friend that were Iranian, and they were telling me at the time they were like most people, according to them. So take it with a grain of salt, but they said most people that are practicing Muslims in Iran are basically cosplaying that because if they don't go along with it, there's insane repercussions. Like they could literally just get killed. And so
Iran's
there's
got a lot of smart scientists and stuff though, and a
Yeah,
lot of people
they had
who
a
have.
lot of young people, and they're young people that kind of forced to keep their heads down too much, and now you get a lot of old people shot and dead. Like we've cut off the head of the chicken. I have a hard time believing that Anatola is even alive, right? Like, is it really him? This feels like a Dread Pirate Roberts thing. I feel like it's not. I mean, I don't think that it's a wild conspiracy to say that we
wasn't
probably
that
already killed their
that was like
leader.
a Simpsons bit where they're like in the attic and they're going through boxes and Homer pulls out an Ayatollah T-shirt and it's like the
Hmm.
previous Ayatollah, but then he's like, "Hey, the great thing about it doesn't matter.
Look
You could,
good.
no one knows. Like you just wear the It's like just
Seriously. I think it's like that to an extent right now, and calling for new leadership is like a joke. It's like he's saying, like, you guys are going to keep pretending that you have the same guy alive. Well, then maybe it's time to call for new leadership,
it's not
which is
just about
literally
the
what
guy.
they're doing with the puppet.
Right. And so I think that's the concern right now with, when people are looking at what's happened with Venezuela, if you don't like Maduro, it's like, are we just going to have more of the same? Is the same system going to be in place? And we just change the head. The only difference is now we're doing business with America for oil or something. It's like,
Well, dude, it just come on, man. Like we just went
Come
through
on,
this
man.
with Afghanistan.
Come on, man.
We just went through this with Iraq. Like it's not going to be.
I
we
don't
just
I don't know
swoop
if this
in
is
and
as
take
cookie
control.
cutter as that. I have a
I
kind of a
don't
knee
know.
jerk to that like that this is that kind of thing because I see a
Well,
lot of
Get
differences.
in? How do you get
Yeah.
in? You have to
For-
go
for
through
what- for a
miles and
few- for a
miles of
few things,
tunnels just
Will.
to get into the city. Like
Yeah, but Will, there's a couple of
it's-
things that
everybody's
matter.
going to
One,
die just from famine.
Iraq is a homogenized state, not a nation, right? So there's multiple nations that were put into a synthetic state, right? Iran is a nation state that's exists. There's multiple nations, but there is a primary nation, like there are the Iranian people, the Persians that have been there forever. And Iran also has a lot of people that have been living outside of Iran for a long period of time. So there are people that can come back to Iran that live in New York and Los Angeles and Germany and around the world.
It's going to be a decade,
France.
man. It's going to be a decade.
I don't. Yeah, sure. But at the same time, Iran's about the size of Germany. It's a very large country compared to a very small. I mean, Israel's about the size of Connecticut, right? It's like not
New Jersey. Sometimes
it's
referred
not-
to as Sand, New Jersey.
right. And they don't know what to do about being the biggest power in the Middle East. I mean, like they can have nukes and they can be powerful with like technocracy, but in terms of resources, and if everyone at once were to come at them just with sheer brute force, it would be pretty difficult to be Israel. So for Israel to have an ally like Iran would be the biggest benefit to them, to have a nuclear powered
They don't have
sister
any,
state.
like,
And so if they could
don't
take
really have
over
any other
Iran,
problems past
they just have
Iran.
to-
They befriend Iran, and everything's just golden in that whole area for a while.
Exactly.
But
Especially with Saudi
nobody really
Arabia.
cares about, like, you know, Iran really kind of looks at the whole Gaza Strip as apostates and stuff. So it's like they really don't.
Iran's
like
not going to be a Muslim
that
state
area at all. That's not going to be good. Like it's
going
just
to be a
bad.
secular state. Iran's going to be a secular state like Israel,
Like it was before 1979.
Yeah,
In
that's
some
what they're
other
there for.
form, but the same principles. At least what's being asked for. Will that come to fruition without outside aid? I don't know. I don't know if that's possible necessarily.
It's
but
going to be Israel's going to keep cutting off the chickens' heads until kids eventually just turn secular. I mean, they already are secular. They want to be secular. The United States is going to probably push into it as well. Iran's kind of, it needs to be propped up as a nuclear sister state to Israel. It can't be completely wiped away.
Captain Obvious, but there's a formula that's existed for a while now that we see in all the colleges when people want to approach these geopolitical dynamics. It's like you can't necessarily apply what's been used the last 5 years to what's going on in Iran easily. Like you kind of have to turn your mind into a pretzel to make that work, because you're looking at who's funding Hamas, Hezbollah, all of these things. Like you can't, in other words, the color coding that we've been projecting on top of all this stuff kind of like falls apart if you try to apply it to Iran right now. Like it just doesn't compute, it doesn't work. And that's why it seems to me that the media doesn't even really know quite how to approach this completely yet, because they can't figure out how to get the same messaging that they've been able to apply and reapply in this formulaic way. They can't do that with the situation there right now. So it's just going to pieces, I don't know. That's what it looks like to me.
Right.
Speaking of color coding, like, do you think there's any connection to the divine feminine with like the Greenland, like Venezuela kind of like resonating with the term
Venus.
and then Venus being related to the color green? And like, I don't know about the Islamic, like a lot of the Islamic crescent is green. So do you think there's any kind of like divine feminine going on there?
Yeah, I mean,
that's everything.
It would be a cornucopia, which is the whole idea of overabundance or crops, or usually with most of the mother goddesses. Like most of the goddesses have to do with the springing of life, and Greenland would kind of be that. It's like Osiris being green, right? Like you've seen that image of Osiris like laying down and plants growing from him. But the one who would tend the garden would be the divine feminine. Like,
right. Well, green land, green man, talking about the golden bough. But no, the reason why I say I have to say that that's everything is because if you look at what Islam represents, as it's expressing itself currently in Iran, is like that is all about the subjugation. It is like the epitome of when you say that the Shahina has been replaced by a handmaiden, and it's not really her. It's Metropolis. By the way, this is the year Metropolis takes place. But it's that you've put a replicant in the place of this sacred feminine archetype. And so, like, if you look at the history of what was prior to 1979, and like that was like almost like what Zoroastrian values are kind of like just Western values, you know, for all intents and purposes, like if you can, at least in contrast to what we're dealing with now. So the whole movement beyond a collapsing economy due to what I was saying before about them being so isolated, you know, like 50% or something. I mean, I don't know the technical percentage, but they rely upon oil exchange and these bartering systems, getting around sanctions and all this stuff. So if we just halt that, the whole thing is falling apart. But then beyond that, we just have some like really direct like you know what is described in Zohar as, you know, the repression or the oppression of the sacred feminine, and something that's being put in its place under the guise that it still is that, even though it carries none of the true characteristics of what we intuitively know that should look like. So yeah,
well, now it feels
underneath the burqa.
Now it feels like the Simpsons are like the Simpsons are great, right, for, you know, predictive programming, but it seems like video games are way more blunt now. And you saw the Call of Duty Venezuela thing, right? Call of Duty Ghosts in 2013 is about taking over Venezuela, part of the South American Technate. Just, you know, it's like a fascistic military state in South America in this like futuristic version of this, you know, this video game, and like it's supposed to be taking place in 2026. That the United States, you're in the military and your job is to go through the beaches and take over Venezuela and capture the president.